Hello, welcome to Watered Seed Talks. My name is Tokes and thank you for joining our talks today. Now in today's conversation we'll be talking about the real impact of solo parenting in marriage. Join us, let's dive in. Okay, so I am going to just go straight into this. Now I have been thinking about this for a while, like every other conversation that I have on YouTube. But I've had this one for a while. I started a video, I'll stop it. Again, I think it's just because you want to be genuine, but I think it comes a time where we need to be sincere to ourselves and the people around us in regards to the real impact of what solo parenting does in marriage. And so let me explain myself properly. So this is where, when I mean by solo parenting, this is where there is a partnership, which means that there is a marriage, but there is one person actually doing the main parenting. Women have taken the forefront of doing the solo parenting, and in some countries, very niche really, you will get men who actually take the front of the solo parenting. And sometimes it is from a place of strength. So when they say a woman is doing all of it, she's working, she's parenting, and you say, oh, she's really strong and she's doing all of this. But it's a myth. Well, to me it's a myth, because I don't see strength, and I'm going to explain to you my view in regards to why I don't see strength. And I think for your view as well, for you to ask yourself, is it a strength or is it just ignorance? Is it the fact that because we do not know the impact of what we're causing, and this is why we see a strength, this is why we see it as a woman being able to multitask and support the other person that isn't doing all the parenting? I mean, I'll leave you to decide for yourself which you think is best. Now, as parents, I think what we need to understand first is that we're not in a place where we have full control over our children. And what I mean by that is that do not think that as a parent the things that you do would fully help you to control your child. It's not going to happen. Scientifically, it's not going to happen. Physically, you can't even do it. What you will get is a child that easily just pretends, does things when they're around you, but then when they're away from you, they're completely different children. So what we can do is only have some level of major influence over our children, but not really have that major control. And that's a good place to start, because we can only want to influence our children to do better, to be better, and we don't really want to control them. So I'll go back to today's conversation, which is, for me, what is the real impact of solo parenting? So number one for me is that marriage is supposed to be a partnership. It's supposed to be two people coming together, helping and supporting each other. And we tell this to our children, we tell this to our girls, that this is what marriage should be. Now, when we solo parent a child, what we're saying to our children is that there is roles in marriage. And for sometimes, perhaps it could work. But there's one thing that we must understand as humans, is that we're dynamic. If we eat, sleep, play in a box, there will come a time when we want to come out of that box. And when we ask nicely to say, can I come out of that box? And you can't come out, you get aggressive. You get aggressive to the people in the box with you, you get aggressive to the box, and you get aggressive to the people outside the box who you think are actually having a better time living outside the box. And this is just me trying to use kind of a parable to kind of explain what I'm saying, in regards to the fact that when we say that fathers need to be providers and all they have to be is just providers, we put them in a box. It means that if a father decides that they want to be a stay-at-home dad, the world, the environment says, oh no, dads can be stay-at-home dads. Or if a mother decides that, well, I don't want to have children, or I don't want to sit home and look after children, I want to go into the workforce, people then say, oh, why would you not want to do that? You're not maternal. Women should be at home. They should look after children. So the idea is that we are dynamic, and in a marriage we should be given a choice in regards to what role we want to perform. Now this role obviously comes with communicating with your partner to say, well, this is what I would like to do, well, this is what I would like to do, and then you come together and agree who does what. Now when a parent or one person is parenting, what we're showing to the child is that for the rest of that child's life, it is just one role. They go into marriage thinking, or even fearful of marriage, thinking, if I say that this is what I'm going to do, then I'm going to be tied to this role. So what we're saying to our children is that we can actually give them a phobia of what marriage is, because it feels like they are going to be tied to one role for the rest of their lives. Now, the second thing is that solo parenting can create bitterness. It can create bitterness in marriage. It can create bitterness in raising children, because if one partner is not able to actually voice out how much workload and how much they're doing in regards to parenting, and just how much effort that it takes for them to parent children, that partner might get resentful, they might get bitter. And what happens is not just even the bitterness, is the fact that the children that are home with that parent who is bitter gets nothing from the parent, because you're going to raise them in bitterness, in anger. You're just going to be upset. That is the foundation that we set for our children, and a foundation that is set from a certain age cannot be changed when the child is 20 or 21, because we've set that foundation. And this is the myth, that this old strong culture of the fact that we have certain roles and we have to just, one person has to parent, is detriment to our children. Both boys and girls, is detriment to the environment and the culture that we are portraying. So number 2 point, I don't want to waffle a lot, is obviously bitterness. Anyone who is bitter cannot really do anything great, because you're just doing it from a really bad place. So it's not benefit to you, to the child that is at home, or even the partner that isn't at home. It's no benefit to anybody. The 3 point is the fact that it is important for us to be friends with our children. When we have one parent, what happens is that because you're always in a place of discipline, you never actually get the chance to actually be friends with your child. You never get to ask them how their day went. You never get to ask them, just do the playful stuff with them, because you always have to be in that place of discipline, because we all know that kids will always be kids, and there's so many times that we have to discipline them. We have to tell them what is right and just make them understand that they can't get away with some of these things. So you're always in that place of discipline, and never in the place to actually be their friends, to just play with them, because you're constantly parenting. You're the only parent. It's the fact that that child misses what friendship they could have in a parent. Number 4, which I think is very important, is that you miss part of the child. I mean, let's think about it. I remember that phrase, that word that says it takes a village to raise a child. Now think about the environment of 2021 that we're in, with everything going on in the media and pedophile and all of this sexual abuse all over the place. A lot of parents don't know who to trust. So what is happening is that parents are just solely, parenting children. Now that is 2 parents. Think about it, that there is only one person actually parenting the child. There is only so much that one person can do. You will miss part of the child. And because you miss part of a child, you cannot nurture that part of the child, because if that is their strength path, you're going to miss that completely. What happens is when there are 2 active people, or even when there's a village that raises a child, is that we see different spectrums of the child. So the part that needs to be nourished is nourished. The part that needs to be curbed is curbed, because there's so many people seeing it, saying, oh look, your child did this. There's so many of us growing up. I remember, we show different sides of ourselves to different people, but when you're raised in the community, you can't really get away with it. So think about today's parenting, and if that parenting is then left to one person. Last one that I would like to talk about is the fact that it impacts your marriage. If one person is constantly parenting the child, believe me, you get tired, and eventually that tiredness sips into the marriage, it sips into your relationship, and that could lead to divorce. And we all know as people that divorce breaks literally the foundation of a child's life. Imagine a big tree, and you had to cut it off from the root. You're taking off everything in its foundation. That is exactly what divorce does to us. And there's children who have triumphed through divorces. But for most children, it is really a destruction of a foundation. And so we want to make sure that even in circumstances where we have to get to that point, it has to not be on the stance, or not being on a conversation on supportive parenting, because there's so many other things that could happen that could make a marriage fall over. But if there are things that are within our power that we can do, then we really should be avoiding it at all costs possible. What can we do to help ourselves, to help other people who are currently solo parenting? Now, the first thing is that I don't think that anybody ever gets into a relationship or partnership to solo parent. I think what happens is that one partner is either working, or one partner is probably working from home or staying at home more. So it makes sense for that partner to actually solo parent. The impact of it is when it's done in the long run, and this is when the crack starts to occur. But I really advise that there shouldn't just be one person parenting. I think you should be able to alternate it for the child to be able to get the different qualities and the different adults. So number one is that you need to have a conversation. You need to have a conversation with your other half. I mean, I would say try not to shout or argue about it, although you might need to shout or argue about it before you then have a proper conversation. But really it's about having a genuine conversation with your other half, with your partner, in regards to the things that have been impacted here, and hoping that they see reason, because you love each other and you love your children and you want the best for them. Number two is that you need to be 100% aware of your mental health. You need your brain space. And sometimes when you do things by yourself constantly, it is not from a place of strength, it is from a place of weakness. You need to speak out. You need to ask for help from the people around you to be able to do a better job. So be aware of your mental health, be aware of your capacity, just how much you can do. When you feel like you're waking up and you're, just feeling disgruntled about everything else in regards to how you parent, you need to speak to somebody. Number three is that you need to be intentional. If you feel like there's so many things that you're doing in your life that stops you from parenting effectively for both parents, you need to be effective and step back and take something away that you feel like isn't that crucial, that isn't that important, because your children's well-being, their life literally depends on how you treat them now. If you're treating a child from a place of bitterness, they're not going to get anything from you. All they're going to remember about parenting is the angry mother, is the bitter mother that raised them. And they are going to be raising their own children the same way. The thing I would like you to consider is never consider shrinking yourself. Never consider that, it's okay, I'll just do it. I feel this way, I feel bitter anyway, I hate what I'm doing, but I'm still going to do it anyway, because this is what mothers are supposed to do. This is what fathers are supposed to do. Please don't do it, because you're going to cause greater damage to yourself and to the people around you. So number 5 for me, as always, because I always come from a place of spirituality, is helped me at every step in my life. So I would always again go to prayer. I would pray about the situation, because I know that I don't have the full key. You have to understand that your partner is being raised by, different upbringing, and the way they've seen things growing up perhaps shapes why or what kind of parent they are, what stance they take in the way that they parent. So don't think that your way is always the best way, but pray for you guys to be on the same page, for you to be able to reason, for your words that flow through to be able to flow into their heart, for them to see a place of understanding rather than from a place of conflict or a place of I want to be right, for them and yourself to just really be able to do what is best for your children. That is the end of today's conversation. I hope you have been able to take a couple of things from here and kind of just think about it to see how this applies to you, and I will see you in a fortnight. Oh, do you like my hairstyle? I forgot to mention. Okay, see you in a fortnight. Bye.